Instead of reading off formulas this whole time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about something different. But if you're interested in the formula on how I mixed any of the colors that you're seeing, then that's going to be down in the description. Instead, today, I'm going to talk about sponsorships. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, something you may not have noticed is how rare a sponsorship video is. Actually, I was going to say is a third, only because I'm mentioning the use of the Platinum Carados and Private Reserve Infinity Purple. The Carados was provided for a video by Goldspot Pens a bit ago. I don't remember exactly when. And the Private Reserve Infinity Purple was provided by Van S. Just using them in a video means that I must disclose this and that the default, and by default, sorry, this is then a sponsored video. This one is not, they're not appearing in it. Only mentioned for the purpose of this conversation. That is because I reviewed the product for free, even though I received no payment. But the way it gets looked at is the product is payments. Them's just the rules here on YouTube. Now, that would also explain why they don't show up in sort of other videos. That, when the review for the Infinity was done, I marked it as an advertisement. But the Carados doesn't show up as like a daily use for the pens, and that's the only reason. But in reality, why I rarely work with sponsors. Sorry. Let's start by talking about advertisements. TV, radio, advertisements in print, the web, all impressions. But a video gets a viewer. Now, that viewer is potentially watching a 10 to 20 minute video that can be seen as a product commercial. The question I would hope you're asking yourself is, how much would that cost to get made? Now, before I dive into what it would cost, let's see some of the offers that have come my way and why I took them and why I passed on them. Ignoring, there seems to be no shortage, as I regularly get 1 to 2 offers in my email every single month. Now, when I say 1 to 2 offers, I'm ignoring all the spam and the scam stuff. That's, I get about 8 to 10 of those a month. It's a lot. First, let's talk about a bad offer I took and was made to regret and then paid for. An ink brand, though, they sent me a bunch of inks. They didn't like the video that I made, and they wanted me to redo parts of the video. Specifically, they didn't want me talking about anything negative that I had seen. They wanted the control over the release date of the video. Now, that's not such a big deal. I don't mind timing a release date with a product launch. That's not, so big. But they wanted a lot of control here. Now, I wound up paying for everything and never put these videos out. There was no contract, but they did threaten legal action on me, which in that was kind of funny. That's when I wound up changing some of what read there that says, if you send it to me, that I may or may not review it, and that you, as the provider, get no control over what's said. It was an amazing thing because they sent them and then wanted so much control that, it wasn't my review, it was their commercial. And I just wasn't willing to do that. My not being willing to put that out and them having problems with me pointing out any negative performance on the ink was a major problem for them. so be it. But let's look at a good one. Van S gave me an ink, and when they gave it to me, the only thing that happened was they said, if I use it in a video, to mention them. Now, I didn't go to get a free ink from them. I was at the Miami Pen Show, and the Infinity ink was there, and I was very interested, and I was going to buy it, and then I was given it, and just asked for that one condition, that if I made the video, mention them. That seems fairly nice. How about a bad deal I passed on? Now, this was a bolt action ballpoint pen. Now, the fact that it's a ballpoint pen isn't the end of the world. I do use them on occasion. Not such a big deal. By doing that, then my viewers would have gotten a 20% discount, and I would have made money on sales. But the thing is, they undersold the influencers by their sales through Amazon. So while they were going to pay their influencers a commission in putting this out there, a commercial, essentially, and they were going to give the viewer a discount for buying it through that link, as the viewer going to purchase it, the $10 off that you would have gotten was underselling the website and the link the influencer was putting out there by just going to Amazon. So they were using influencers in a very unscrupulous way just to get free commercials made and reach and contact with the audience. I passed on that, but right at that time, a whole bunch of videos came out in different areas. The planner community had a bunch of them that came out. The pen community had a handful. Now, not all deals are bad, and here's another good one, and this one happened with Goldspot. It was the Curidas, and they had talked about whether or not it actually lasted for 6 months just sitting in a drawer. I did reach out and, said, hey, let's do this. I'll buy the pen, but you have it sit in a desk for 6 months after it's inked up and then mail it to me. I asked for something written to show, and that all went through without any kind of problem. Tom did ask that I put a link, I asked about putting a link in. Tom asked, put this link in, and it just had to do with, as it happened, the newer pen was coming out at that time. This was totally coincidence, and it wasn't any kind of a problem. I thought it was a neat experiment to be able to run, one that answered an advertising question, and not such a big deal. I'm going to consider that a very good experience. That was their only impact on the entire video, is that they said, hey, just put this link there. Now, in that same video, I decided to go ahead and experiment with an ad read and make an ad. So the ad that appears in there was completely made by me. There was nothing from Goldspot on it. But my experiment was to see how well did the viewers take the idea of an ad read in a video, and it did not go over well. It really backfired. A lot of viewers really hated the idea of an ad read. And I am going to say this when it comes to ad reads, that when you see a video from any creator and they have a sponsor, think about how much time and actual money went into making that video. That them having a sponsor that's paying for the video likely pays more money than they would have received through AdSense in a month. So simple things like, for my channel, for example, the papers used. These papers aren't free. All the different notebooks that get used cost money. The ink costs money. The camera equipment, the microphone, the lighting, it costs money. The software used to edit costs money. Everything costs money. And I'm just trying to advocate in this way for sponsorships. They really are very helpful to the community. Now, about the many that I pass on, these are the things that I didn't realize you would ever want to hear me talk about. So I didn't do it. Things like belt buckles, belts, games, video games for on your phone. that have all those microtransactions? How about video editing software, custom computers? VPNs, desks, desk lights. Now, a desk and a desk light I could see, but I couldn't see how to possibly put that into a video and really be able to talk about it without it being really unnatural. With that, parts of my videos have been used in advertisements. Now, once with my consent, and this was from Ackerman, and they simply asked to be able to use some of my audio bits, and that didn't bother me at all. I said, go right ahead, and they were willing to compensate with an ink. I said, great, but how about you run the campaign first? After the campaign's run and you see it be successful, then talk to me about it. That way, let's see you have the success before you deal with any kind of compensation. And I never heard anything back from them, so I'm going to assume it wasn't as successful as they'd want. Now, 2 times I know of, I found some of my content being used without my consent. And without anything, the business owner then, I had to contact them and I had to let them know that you need to take this down. This is mine. And I got basically something from their lawyer trying to explain fair use, and I had to send something back saying fair use doesn't apply to you using my stuff for advertisement. But if we want to make it a legal battle, this is my lawyer, and I will have my lawyer contact yours. Just give me your lawyer's information. And they pulled the information down. They pulled their ads down. It was really one of those things that I saw it and I thought, this time went in on my part. You're going to cash in on it. And that's a bit of a problem that, chances are if they asked, I would have just let them use it free of charge and it wouldn't have been a big deal. I see getting the pen shops and all that to be successful as good for the community and good for me. I like fountain pens. I need a place to be able to buy them. I need a place to be able to buy ink. I like being able to buy samples opposed to whole bottles. So seeing them be successful is a great thing, I think, for everybody. But then why is all of this such a big deal? And the cost of making a video for advertisement would then come in to think about it, where you've got the lighting equipment, the sound equipment, the camera equipment, editing, the people on camera. And I know this is really funny to think about, but if I am on camera and I'm talking, I'm on camera talent at that point. And I'm going to use talent very loosely here, but I'm the on camera. Now, if you were hired for a commercial, that company is going to pay you that day's rate for your work, regardless of how long that work would be. Reshoots, the number of videos that I've had to go back and redo parts for myself, but reshoots would be a thing. Uploading and metadata, handling the comments, okay? There's a lot that goes on here. And, when we think about it, there's a lot. If I make a video for another channel for something they're doing, and then they say, hey, can you also just pop in the comments every now and then? And I go and I make sure I check that video periodically and answer any comments. That is time to go back. Time that's not spent on anything else that I would do. So how much would you think any of this would cost to get made for your company or your product? And, I think the cost there is probably much higher than we're going to steal a little piece of video. Look, I only stole a few seconds. Stole a few seconds. That content then belongs to the creator. Now, some of it, sometimes, like one time I made a video and a company really did not like it and really wanted that video to come down. And they're unscrupulous anyway, in my opinion, but they really wanted the video to come down because I had a very bad opinion about them. And I got a cease and desist letter based on content. So sponsorships in that case would help deal with the costs that can get associated with this. You would never think that for making a product review, and just that, I responded to them before using my lawyer saying, I'm a consumer, I purchased it, this is a product review. You're allowed to make product reviews of products you've purchased, and as long as you're being honest about it, it's not any kind of a big deal. I do understand that a product review can greatly hurt a company, which is, it's very unfortunate, okay? And I'm going to say it's very unfortunate, but I'm going to say that if you are putting a product out, you should put out a good product, and if what you've made is not a good product, you probably don't want to put it out there and put your name on it. Would just be my thought. But there is another reason that I don't really work with sponsors very often. A long time ago, I had reached out to a few different retailers with video collaborations, and I had ideas, and they were written out. And when I did this, I sent along a rough script of the video, which wasn't ink reviews. In general, I never heard back from most, and a couple of those videos were made, though not by me. They just followed my script. I'm happy that they liked the idea. Let's just assume, though, that they did a better job on them than I would have. Okay? Now, there was one that did respond, and though the response might seem mean, it is, in fact, the best thing that I heard from the retailer. And not just because they were the only response that I had received from reaching out with that. And that was that they didn't think that I really had enough to offer in the collaboration as they could do it themselves. And that's fair. Just because you reach out doesn't mean that they need to be willing to work with you. And they didn't steal the rough script that I sent. It was beautiful advice in what happened. And so I no longer reach out to anyone on doing any of these videos. And I think the reason there can be fairly simple. I think they were right. I just don't have to offer what they can't do themselves. Now, none of this is to say that I will never work with sponsors, and I figure I will, but they need to be right for you, the audience here, not me, not just, hey, I can make a little bit of money on this. Again, I've passed on video games, which is one of my favorite on that. The belt buckle made no sense. I researched them. Holy scammy company. So right now I should be at the end, but I find myself more in the middle. You see, ads or monetizations, memberships, Patreon, all that kinds of stuff, it's all really good. It really does help creators. It helps creators not need sponsorships in order to do things. Now, a lot of people making videos in this area don't need a lot, sponsorships in order to run their channel. But if you watch a channel where they regularly buy that brand new pen out of China and review it, that costs money. And chances are that costs more money than they're making through AdSense. AdSense tends to pay very little. With that, the channel memberships to them do much more. Okay, you super thanking their video does much more. All of this helps them be more independent in being able to get the funds to get the stuff to review. Now, at one point, I will say that I lost all of my monetization. This was Google canceled me, and this was because of the war in Ukraine. I just had too controversial a content for what was going on in the world at that time, so Google canceled all of my ads, and it was very funny to me. I couldn't get any answers, and eventually, like right now, there will have been ads at the beginning and at the end of this video, and that's because I eventually did manage. It took, a while. Only recently have ads come back. It took a long time to be able to get that sorted out with Google. But this is where, again, the sponsorships become very much a big deal. To me, I wouldn't make the videos if I wasn't playing with these inks anyway. The videos get to be a byproduct. The videos get to be a second hobby. kind of thing. That the first hobby is the fountain pens and the inks and the papers. The second hobby gets to be making videos. I like learning different ways of editing videos, experimenting with different things on it, and seeing how this goes. But I do tend to run myself more as a value model. And this is that I try to obviously give value and hope that I do. And that if the viewer feels they're getting the value out of it, they can return that value. Now, that returning that value can be in a number of different ways. It is not always monetary. Somebody doesn't have to become a channel member and they don't have to donate to it in anything, but they could share that video into different areas on social media, thus expanding the reach, helping not just me, but talking about helping creators have more reach so that they are more enticing to sponsorships. That's really what we're trying to create, is this opportunity for somebody to be more enticing to a sponsorship in itself. You want that creator to have a company look at them and say, I want to work with them. They have real reach in an audience. Now, even that, the reach in the audience, a lot of people aren't understanding that entirely. They think the reach is the subscriber number, but it's not the subscriber number. What we're really talking about then is unique viewers in a month. This is subscribers and non-subscribers. So how many people would actually get exposed to that piece of information during a specific amount of time? The other thing that happens with sponsorships is some video, which is a commercial, gets made, but it lives forever on the internet. And not just as you look up and you're looking for their old advertisements. You're looking up information on a product. And when you find that information on that product, then what you get is that sponsored video, which is actually advertisement, even when they get to point out some negative things about the pen. This may not be perfect, or that may not be perfect, but this thing right here is great. It's helping a consumer make a educated decision about what they're actually after, and that in itself is a great thing. With that, I think that this doesn't necessarily fall under the sponsorship idea, but that's where negative reviews are very important. When a video creator makes a negative, or a blogger or an Instagrammer, anybody who's doing this stuff makes a negative review, that helps the consumer base their opinions on whether or not to purchase. And again, we come back to this idea that, you know, maybe they made a negative review and it might hurt the product, and it might hurt the company, and it might. They should not put a product out unless they're actually ready for the world to see it. But by sharing this information, what we really wind up with is an ability to say, yes, I want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. It's where we're putting our money. Is it better for a company to have a product not sell because people don't, or have seen negative reviews? Or is it better that a product sells, the company makes money, but the public does not like the product, so they have a bunch of negative feelings about the company and not just the product? I mean, I think of it as the first time I tried a Sailor fine nib. I was not interested in them, and I tried them at a pen meet. And I loved it. And that led me down the rabbit hole of being willing to try more Sailor pens. These opinions that are out there are absolutely valid. But if you do not like feedback in your pen, then perhaps a Sailor fine pen is not best for you. If I did not like the feedback in that pen, I would have just said, yep, Sailor, not for me, and the whole brand might have been off the table, especially if it was I purchased it. If I did not purchase it, I can say not for me, and I don't really have any hard feelings. But at the cost of the pen, a bad experience might cut you off from that brand entirely. Understandable. These are not inexpensive things. And I feel like I'm beginning to ramble a little bit, so I'm going to cut this all off here and say thanks for listening.